Hello, my stamping friends. This is Robin with Stamp with Dr. Robin. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in San Diego, California, where, believe it or not, again, it's 80 degrees today, which is too warm and windy now. And we had a lovely little spat of nice, cool October-ish weather. And here we go again, back to thinking it's summer. But I'm a positive thinker, so I got out all my fall winter clothes, which to you guys who are in cold weather are a joke, but you know, 3/4 sleeves or long sleeves, it's a big deal to us here. So anyway, welcome everybody. Glad you could join me. And today we are going to be making cards again with the framed florets. I know I made a card with that last week, but once I start playing with a new set, I get all excited all over again. So I took a break from getting ready for my holiday card buffet and decided I'd stick with this. And I'm calling this class What to Do When You Love Both Sides of the Designer Series paper, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I just don't want to cover them up. And you know, sometimes putting glue or whatever on the paper is just so difficult. So this one, you get to see both sides of the paper, which I love. So just to bring you up to date, hi Carolyn, glad you could join me. Hoping you're coming to my holiday card buffet. Anyway, bring you up to date on some Stampin' Up! Stuff. Today is the last day of the joining special, where you get, instead of the $125 worth of product for $99, you get $155. And then tomorrow actually starts customers being able to order this framed florets bundle, as well as there's another stamp set that I don't have that is purely Christmas sentiments. That one, plus the paper, plus the gold swirl embellishments, those are only while supplies last. This bundle that we're using today, that's going to be in the January through June mini catalog. But the paper and the embellishments and the Christmas stamp set that goes with this will not. Hi Marilyn, glad you could join me. Anyway, so that's the big thing going on. And then the other thing, as I just mentioned, because Carolyn's local, is I'm having my yearly holiday card buffet where you come to my house and make 8 cards for $30. And if you want to make more, they're just $2.50 a card to make more. And I've got already, I think I have 15 little shoe boxes. Here's one. Whoops. Here's one. Shoe boxes full of cards. And most of them have about 10 to 15 cards in there, and we just make them till they're done or people get tired and go home. And I think this year I'm going to try something for all of you online, which is after we're done making cards, I'm going to sell the tutorial for all of them. So haven't figured out my price yet, but if you come, you'll get the tutorial free if you want me to send it to you, and otherwise you can buy the little tutorial. So that's all the news I know of. So I'm going to put you down right now so we can start here. So hopefully that's sort of straight. Let me see if I can get you up on my other phone so I can see what's going on, that this is working. All right, so here is the set of the framed florets stamp set, and lo and behold, Stampin' Up! Listen to us, and this is called the framed florets, say that 5 times fast, die set. They have now decided we are going to name the dies the same as the stamp set they go with. Yay! Makes a big difference when you're trying to find them. I keep them separate like this. So that's a nice little perk, I think, for starting in January. And I just want to show you a couple things about these frames, because I did already cut out the ones that I'm going to use. So this frame here not just cuts out that, but it also gives you a beautiful oval to use for another card. And that's actually what we're going to be doing here, is using some of these for a second card. So we're going to actually make 2 cards today. This one we used last week. And this one cuts out just the little oval hearts. This is a card from last week that we did. And then this one cuts out this frame, but it also cuts out another oval. So you've got a couple sizes of ovals now, since we haven't had oval dies in a little while. So that's actually real exciting. And these cut out things that were stamped. We used this on the card last week. I do want to show you this one, and we're going to use that today. Actually cuts out some of the designer series paper. So, oops, let's get this out of the way. These are the cards that we're going to make. And remember I told you this is all about the fact that this designer series paper is so beautiful that you just don't want to cover it up. So this one actually uses quite a bit of the designer series paper, and you can see you get to see the back side of it here and across the whole back if you want to do that. And then this one, both of these cards, I think I've made this design before. This one's kind of sneaky because it just looks like a normal card. And then you open it up and you get to see the back of the designer series paper on that one also. So let's start with making that one. So, I don't think I'm going to show you all the paper again. If you want to see all the paper, then you get to go to last week's video. I think I showed all the paper then. So this is a piece of the designer series paper, and it's 5 1/4 by 11 3/4. So you only get 2 of these out of any specific one that you're cards. So two per paper, and all you're doing is cutting off 1/4 of an inch here, and then like I said, it should be 5 1/4 if I cut it right. Yes. So now we are going to score it, and we are going to score it at 1 3/4, and we're going to score it at 4 3/4. Whoops, let me bring this down. It doesn't look like I'm all the way in the frame. Whoops, that wasn't right. 4 3/4. So 1 3/4, 4 3/4, and 7 3/4. So the 1 3/4 part gets actually folded back like that. This part gets folded in. And what you want to do as you're doing this is just making sure things are lining up well. And that looks pretty good. So see how it's going to open up. Now remember, this is 5 1/4 this way, and it fits perfectly on a 1/4 sheet of the paper. This is balmy blue, which is one of the colors in here. So this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I think I'm gonna, oh, we got some other people. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Myrna. Hi, Beatrice. So we got a lot of people. So we're gonna glue this down. And again, I'll repeat the folds on here, which, excuse me, where we scored it was 1 3/4, 4 3/4, and 7 3/4. So now you get to see both sides of the paper. Isn't that pretty? All right, so let's do a little stamping. We've got a couple ovals to stamp, and these ovals are both in the basic white, And they're both the center as if I cut out this one. And the reason being is I had actually cut these all in basic white like this, and I had used this on some cards that people are going to make in a few weeks at my house, and so I had a whole bunch of these left that were in white. So la-ti-da, here we go. All right, we've got some polished pink ink. And again, this is one of the colors in the DSP. And both of these, both the inside and the outside one, I'm actually going to try to stamp them a little up. Did I use this big one or a little? No, I did. Because unless you put something else in, this is going to be the inside one, and I'm trying to leave a little room for writing. I'm actually going to clean this off because I'm going to use that on the next one. And then this one for a special person on a special day. You see what I did? I got a little ink right here, so I just got rid of it before I'm stamping. And I'm going to put that one up also. All right, that's it for stamping on this card. It's a lot of cutting on this card instead of stamping. So the next thing we're going to do is actually, remember I told you that this paper you could actually cut out? Let me show you that piece of paper for a second. Although I've actually, you know, each one you get 2 pieces of the same paper. I actually sat down one day before I even got these dies and I cut out an entire one. But then this one is the second one, and I'm just, now that I've got the dies, if you see this one right here and this pink one we're using, those ones you can cut out with the dies. These other ones, like these 3, 4 here, those, the dies don't fit. But I happen to pick the one that the dies do fit. So I'm going to take my little mini Stampin' Emboss, and I've got a little piece of washi tape. I think I'll pull it back just to be able to do it. And I found that this actually fits really close to the edges pretty perfectly. See how you don't see any white there really? And that's going to keep it steady. And it does cut pretty close to the image, which is kind of nice too. Put this back before I lose it. And see that? It does cut just really, really nicely here. All right, so let's bring our little card back in. And remember I said I'm going to use different insides and outsides. So these two are both like the inside of a white one of these. And I found something interesting. I decided I wanted to put that here. But then since this fits just perfectly in there, no overlap or anything, I was trying to figure out how I was going to glue down because I can only glue down half. And I found out something interesting, which is if you take this big one, like what came out of one of these big frames, it fits perfectly on the back of this. So that's my little hint here, is if you go like this and you put it on the back, you've created a place that you can actually, you see that? Because you're going to see half of this, so I do want to try to line it up at least a little bit, but we don't really have to worry about this glue that's coming out the other side, because the next thing we're going to do is basically glue down this whole thing. Whoops. I don't think I got it quite right. There we go. So isn't that cool? So then the back is solid, it's more solid, and you can glue it back down on here. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put on, well, actually before we do that, let's glue our little flowers on. And of course you can glue these however you want, and you could even, you know, there are ones that are stamped, and then after you're done with this paper, which I think I'm going to get some more of because I love it so much. So now we're just gonna, so you'll be able to stamp these later, but we're just going to pop up with dimensionals along this side. Actually, I'm going to show you something before we do that. I decided that I wanted to put this little pink back here in a way that this would nestle right into it. Because again, remember we used that one, and it does nestle right into that pink frame. See that? So what we're gonna do, I decided it might be easier if I put the pink frame in first, rather than putting it down second. So hint number 3, I don't know where we are, I'm not counting, is when you are going to glue down something that looks intricate like this, if you remember, which I never do, to use your adhesive sheets when you cut it out, that's good. Otherwise you take a little piece of an old sponge and you just kind of go around the edge like this, because guess what? You do not need a ton of glue. You need a little bit of glue in a lot of places. And if you're, you know, good about just letting a little bit of glue out, you can do this, you know, straight from the bottle. But this is a nice way to do this if you're not so good at that. So I'm just going to gently put that where I think I want it, and then make sure it's hanging over the edge. And you all know straight is not my forte, so I'm hoping that's straight there. I think it's a little bit top heavy, but oh well. And then we're going to glue this one down also. I kind of like, I mean, you could use the big one and cover up all that, but because I just think this paper is so gorgeous, I kind of like how it leaves a little area around there. So now we're ready to glue down. So I want this to just kind of nestle in here like that. Then I'm going to check the back. See how the back looks nice also? You don't see that white showing through. Isn't that pretty? Hey Linda, glad you could join me. And then we're going to take some of this polished pink open weave ribbon. Now you could, I've seen people do this, glue this all the way down and then tie your ribbon like that, and then it opens just like a normal card. But what's the point of that? If you made the point of making this, you know, whole beautiful thing, don't you want people to see it all? So let's just tie a knot. Because guess what? Tying bows on camera never works. So, or I would just say it's not as easy as tying a knot. And then we'll just cut it down a little bit. And now, because every card deserves a little bit of bling, I went and found something I hadn't been using yet called the 2021-2023 In Color Opal Rounds Aren't these gorgeous? So they come in all the in colors that we started with last year. So these are the polished pink ones, and what you'll notice is they're actually kind of lighter than the polished pink, but that's okay. It just kind of goes with it, right? So that's our card. That's our first card. So remember I promised you 2 cards today. So let's put this one aside. And the second card as part of this, do you guys like that one? I love seeing both sides of the paper. This one is really an easy card to do. So that's card number 2. So this piece of cardstock started as a normal 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. But then I cut it off at 5 1/4. So all I have left is this little inch right here, okay? And then you have whatever cardstock you're using, and I'm using another piece of this cardstock. And this is 4 by 5 1/2. So we're used to making 4 by 5 1/4, but this one we want to be even with this, okay? And so you're actually wanting to make it even top and bottom and this open side. And what you want to glue it to is over here, but you see there's no cardstock all the way in there. I mean, I suppose you could cut this 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but then you wouldn't get as many out of each. So you're leaving just that little bit that's equal to that. You've got this lined up on the far side, top and bottom, and you just squish that down. I'm going to hold it for a second so that we're sure that it's going to dry okay. And now there's your card base. I'm just going to put in an inside. I decided I just didn't, I guess, you know what we could do to do something on the inside is get one of these pretty flowers. Let's do that. And that way we can put something too on our envelopes. And since I didn't do a pretty envelope for the other one, let's start with that one. Let's get our polished pink back. What do I do with it? You guys can't see what a mess this is around here. So what we can do is just get a little bit of color on our envelope. It would be better if I had used my piercing mat here. And now I'm just, I can show you, I suppose. But it's such an ugly chamois, but I'm using my little chamois. And then if I'm going to use it right away, I just do this to get the water off. And now I have the one for this one, and I'm using some Evening Evergreen. And maybe just put one on the front also. Pretty, huh? And then this is going to be for our inside. And otherwise I'm leaving this blank. I decided not to put any inside here. But let's just put that on the inside. I like my insides for the most part to be 3 3/4 by 5. I think it leaves a nice little border around here. All right, next step is to grab one of these ovals. Again, this is the same size oval. Remember I told you I had a fair number of these. And this one, since I thought, you know what, we could use this as a girl card. Sorry, it seems like it's off the edge a little bit to me here. I usually like to put mine on like this so that because otherwise when you're pulling them to get them on, it seems like they just don't go on, you know, cockeyed a little bit. So anyway, I decided, you know what, I haven't checked this with my husband and my son, who's my guy card consultants. But to me, with the evening evergreen, this looks like it could be a guy card. All right, let's bring the card back in. And what we're gonna do is, again, take that really pretty frame. And here's the blue one. Remember, we used one that can go in the center on our other card. And we used the one from the center of this one on the back of this one. All right, so here's another one where we can take our little, dang, I'm forgetting what this is called. Well, it's in the back and it's only like $5 and you can use it for so many different things. And if you don't have a little old piece of sponge, this is an old Stampin' Up sponge, you can also just use a sponge dauber, but then you're gonna want that sponge dauber to be completely dedicated to this because there's pretty much no getting this glue off once you start using a sponge or a sponge dauber. But the cool thing about silicone mat, yay, remembered. The cool thing about using your silicone mat is once this dries, you can just peel it off. So here's like the part from the last one. And it just peels off and it's just as smooth again and you can just use it over and over again. So silicone mat, it's like $5 or something. And it has like 101 uses. All right, so let's just put that on here. Oops, I think I'm gonna move it over just a smidge. Why? Because we've got ribbon that we're gonna use on here. And then I'm gonna use some dimensionals on the back of this one. All right, so then I went looking for what can I do to just dress this up a little bit. And I found this lovely window pane checked ribbon, which is in Evening Evergreen. And I'm gonna put it right down the middle here. But you'll see something really cool when we open it up. When we open it up here, this also covers up that little seam. Isn't that kind of nifty? I'm going to try to move it up just a smidge. And then I went looking for what can I use for a little bling on here. So I could have used the green dots from the In Color Opal Rounds. But another thing that I haven't used a whole lot of is these are solid faceted gems. And they come in balmy blue, or at least this is what they say they are. Balmy blue, night of navy, petal pink, melon mambo, pool party, and mossy meadow. So I decided, since we got our little balmy blue here, that we would go ahead and use that. There we go. So let's bring back in our other one here of the cards that we made. And here's our little envelopes that go with them. So what do you guys think? So, you know, the idea of what I'm doing is also giving you ideas to say what other, you know, DSP have I not used because I love both sides so much. So think about the DSP sitting around your house that could use some using up, as well as just showing you both sides. So do you guys have a favorite on these? So thank you Myrna. Oh, Lisa, you're on here too. Let me put you guys up. And hoping that, like I said, you get some ideas on, oops, get all those fingers in the way. Why is this deciding to be weird? That you get some ideas of using up your DSP, and that you just have some fun making cards. Hope to see you guys next week again at 1 o'clock Pacific time, and not sure what we'll be doing then, but it'll be some pretty cute cards. So take care. Have a great day. Bye.